Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. We know that there's a lot of concern lately, not just in New York State, all over the country, for the pressure that tournaments and heavy fishing pressure brings upon a species of fish. And it's different today than ever before. It really is, because technology is taking fishing to a whole nother level, at least for the fishermen. A whole nother level for the fish too, because there's added pressure and added chance that a population of fish can't survive. And I was reading articles, and not just about bass, but about trout fishing and the return of brook trout to one of the most famous fishing areas in Canada, that the population had all but just disappeared because of fishing pressure. And some of the things that they said really surprised me, they being the editors of the article that I was reading. And what they've discovered, that with trout, now trout to me are even more difficult to catch and release because the slime that's on their skin protects them from disease, and it's so easy to rub that slime off if you're handling them. But getting to the point here is they've discovered, with the help of biologists and tagging some of these trout, that people are catching the same trout over and over and over again. And this really does surprise me. I think that, if you catch a fish and it goes through all the struggles that it goes through, and it ends up surviving and returning and getting itself better, that it will fall for the same thing again. It will hit again and maybe hit the same bait again and again. And we find that in the St. Lawrence River, so many of the fish that the fishermen will bring in, and if I'm standing there and monitoring all this during a tournament, one of the things that they'll say is, you can see on this fish where it's been fizzed in different spots several times. In other words, what that tells you is that fish has been caught many times before. And the other thing is, you'll notice in its mouth, you can see where it's been wounded or there's been a hook before or whatever. And this kind of surprises me. We talk about, fish learn, and they learn about a bait and then they won't hit it again. And then you've got this other side of this whole topic, that fish can be caught over and over and over again. And I guess what it really says is that it's kind of more and more up to us to make sure that we do catch and release these fish in the best way we possibly can, because a lot of times the fish we're fishing for are the same fish that we fished for last year or last month or last week. We may be catching the same fish over and over, which also tells us that population of fish may not be reproducing itself at near a fast enough rate or with big enough numbers that it can actually keep that population going without the help from us. There's new ideas, new thoughts, new information that comes to us all the time. And I try to stay abreast of it so I can pass it on. Sometimes I barely understand some of these things, but I think it's worthwhile that we at least keep our minds open to the fact that we always can maybe learn something and do something a little better to make sure that we can keep enjoying this sport. And I got to tell you, the changes that are happening in this sport are so rapid now with technology. New items are coming out all the time. We talked about forward-facing sonar and how it gives us an unfair advantage over the fish. Well, that's only the beginning. They're going to have other things coming out where we can even track the fish after we catch them or before we catch them. It's absolutely amazing. And what it's also doing is changing. For those that are taking part in all these changes, it's changing what the sport really is. And I know I talk about the old days, but the old days are the root, the foundation of what has made fishing such a giant part of my life. And I remember back in the old days, what we had, the best way we could ever see of what the fish was doing is with a bobber on top of the water, bobbing up and down if a fish happened to hit. Now, for heaven's sakes, we can find our areas. We can choose even what fish we want to cast to by looking at screens on our boat that's cost a fortune, by the way. And it's a whole different way of fishing. somebody, instead of looking at the water, is looking at a screen on their boat. It's kind of hard for me to imagine because it isn't what I do. But that doesn't mean for the people that do this, it isn't a great joy for them. It's not my style, but my style probably wouldn't be fun for a lot of people. A lot of people wouldn't want to go out and wade a river and every step wonder if you're going to fall and wonder if you're going to survive if you fall and all those type of things. It's not worth it to a lot of people. But for me, it is. And so, again, I've said it before, different strokes for different folks. And fortunately, fishing has unlimited strokes. And they better be that because we're getting to be an unlimited population. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.